Welcome back, Shalloners. Well, the holidays are upon us, and that means family, and family can sometimes mean drama. Why? Because we don't always fit in to our family's idea of what's normal, what's expected, what's their history, what's their goals for their lives. So how do we kind of like carve out our own individuality in the midst of maybe a social group, a college, a small town, a family, or a whatever that doesn't exactly embrace weirdness? Well, we're going to talk about one of our favorite weird celebrities, Billie Eilish, and learn from her embracing of weirdness and creativity and take some of those lessons into our own lives. But first, just want to remind you guys, if you want to talk to me one-on-one, have a private question, find me on my website, shallonlester.com, and click Get Help. You can also listen to my podcast, Girl on Top, right there on my website, shop my new merch collection, and take a fun quiz to see how your social media stacks up and if it's sending a good message. Also follow me on Instagram at shallonxo, where I let you vote on the next video topic and weigh in. So let's get into Billie Eilish. But before we do, you're probably like, what on earth does her shirt say? It says Quaalude Queen, because I know something about being weird. I grew up in a very conservative town, Irvine. I'm here right now. I'm visiting the fam for Thanksgiving. And in my high school, like the alternative people were not the popular people. The bad kids were not the popular people. The popular people were the preppies. The preppies, the soccer stars, ASB president, that was me, like stars of the school play, like high achievers. There was not wiggle room for weirdness. And my college was very much the same way. I went to Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo. It's a very conservative school. And like, when I went off to college, I was very much ready to like embrace the weird, and that was just not the environment. So I felt very alone. I've done videos on this before, but like my experience in college really shaped who I was, because since I wasn't getting that social inclusion need and that validation in like my sorority, because I just felt like a little off center, I really had to seek it out in other places. I joined ROTC, I joined the improv team, wrote for the paper, volunteered, did rodeo, belly dance, all of this stuff. I was kind of like piecemealing out the inclusion needs that I had to have to build this whole overall picture puzzle of healthy self-esteem. But we're going to talk more about that in a little bit. Back to the Quaaludes, because in high school we had like a hippies dance, like a 70s, 60s hippies dance. And my mom, who was an actual hippie, was like, yes, she was like, this is my time. Or actually, no, this was for the raver dance. We had a rave. We're such dorks. Like no one had ever even been to a rave. Clearly the teachers hadn't, because they like allowed us to do this theme that was like basically drug theme. But like, again, we didn't know that. Like, I mean, we did, but it just would never occur to us to do drugs. Everyone, you know, did like the candy bracelets and everything. My mom was like, oh, I've got the shirt for you. Quaalude Queen. This is something she wore back in her hippie days. Like, my mom went to Woodstock, like blue school bus, commune, the whole nine. Like, she was not playing around. I didn't even know what a Quaalude was. I thought it was like an Australian animal. So I show up, I was student council president. I was like arguably one of the most conservative people in my high school, in the shirt with a pill on it. I almost got suspended. I was furious. I was furious. They made me wear like an XXXL like UHS football shirt from like the coach's office, like put over it. But like none of my other friends knew what a Quaalude was either. They were all like, cool shirt. Like, we had no idea. I'm excited it still fits. Kind of tight in the boobs though. But that means maybe my boobs have grown. My point is, it's hard to be weird in an environment that is not conducive to this. So how does this relate to Billie? Okay. Billie is like, we love her. I love Billie because she is such an unabashed individual. Like, I read everything that I can about her. I find her just fascinating. You know, her middle name is Pirate. That kind of goes to show what kind of family she has. They were like both failed actors, so I'm not really surprised that they like have Billie and her brother Phineas like in this public eye. I mean, obviously the kids are very good at it, and this is something they were organically interested in, but you know, it's not like her mom was the dentist and her dad was a school principal. Like, they were both failed actors who were very poor. And so when Billie started to take off, like, she is now the breadwinner of the family. That's got to be a lot of pressure, but that's a whole separate video. But I think what people respond to with Billie and her music, and certainly her aesthetic, which is very bizarre. I mean, she dresses like Well, I used to describe her as like zombie Lana Del Rey. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of her voice and her aesthetic is as a cohesive unit. But just looking at her aesthetics and her style, she's more like if Busta Rhymes had a white daughter, right? Just, or like Missy Elliott and Busta Rhymes both had a white gothy daughter. Are we on the right track? I think so. But what people love about her is that she is like, this is me. And this is why Billie is an alpha, and this is why Billie is a leader, because she doesn't feel the need to explain herself to anyone, right? She is given like one sentence to Calvin Klein when she was part of his campaign of like, why do you dress in these oversized clothes? Which, like, honestly, her answer was so heartbreaking. It's like, basically, I don't want people to judge my body, and they can't judge it if they can't see it. I'm like, girl, it's just that hurts my heart. But she's not wrong. And we as women experience what she's experiencing. And it's like, she's that almost like advanced as a 17-year-old to be like, I am removing myself from this conversation. I don't know, but that's not advanced. It's hard because it's like she's protecting herself, and I don't ever want to like pass judgment on what someone does to feel protected, but like maybe one day she wants to just wear a beautiful Versace dress to the American Music Awards, you know, but maybe not. And so she's in this lane. Let's say she's in this lane completely by her own choosing, right? Because I think that she is. Like, she could come out and she could wear whatever she wants. But she's right. Like, now at this point, if she switches and she shows up in some slinky thing, it's going to be like the top of the news, and all anyone's going to talk about is her body. And I don't appreciate that. I have a lot of issues with my body and body image issues, and I don't want someone talking about mine either, unless of course it's a compliment, you know. But like, Billie was a dancer for a really long time, and I think it gave her, you know, some issues. Dancers have a lot of, you know, issues with their bodies and the image because of what people tell them and how, the size they have to be, and they have to do this. I feel for you girls. I feel for you. Be a belly dancer like I was. The fatter you are, the better. It's great. Like Santa Claus jiggling around up there. I should get back into it because I am. There's a reason the camera's cut off. There's a reason. But yeah, what we love about Billie is she just is who she is, and she doesn't feel the need to explain, right? She gave that one sentence to Calvin Klein, and that's all she says. So what can we take into our own lives from that example, right? Well, you're at Thanksgiving, right? We're sitting around the table. Aunt Helen says, Shallon, why don't you have a boyfriend? Like, I just don't. Back to eating my stuffing. Well, don't you want one? I mean, don't you want to get married and have kids? Maybe. So what's everyone's New Year's resolutions? What we permit, we promote. And there is this attitude that women owe you an answer. We owe everyone an answer to any question you might ask. Any question you might ask. We are obligated to answer you. I remember in high school, my best friend hooked up with this guy, like whatever. And his friend, like we're all in the back parking lot hanging out, and his friend, Jace, was like, so how far did you guys go? And she's like, don't worry about it. He's like, I'm not worried about it. I just want to know. And I was like, who the fuck do you think you are asking a girl what she did sexually with somebody else? And that was the first moment, because we were both so uncomfortable. Like, we felt like we had to like answer, because like obviously I knew the answer, but like that's when it dawned on me, like, men expect an answer from us no matter what they ask. And women do too. Women almost do more, because there's this false sense of sisterhood, you know? So it's like, well, come on, like, why don't you, like, what happened? Blah, blah, blah. Come on, tell me. It's like, I don't have to tell you shit. I read every single comment that people leave on this YouTube page, every single one. And the ones I respond to on purpose. And the ones I ignore on purpose. You know, when people ask me something I don't want to talk about, like, people ask me, it's like, I don't know, just like disrespectful questions about like, I don't even know, like, I don't know. Just things that I just don't want to talk about. But Billie is kind of the antithesis of this attitude, where it's like, she's not talking about something and you can wonder about it, and that's fine. Die mad about it. You don't like a triple XL camo, you know, suit? Die mad. Die curious. I don't care. But I don't need to put myself out there on an emotional risky limb and give more information that I want, and then start to apologize for my decisions and my life, whether it's you're weird or if it's simply that you're single or that you're in medical school instead of going to fashion or whatever it is that people have a question about. So the way you do that is you answer with one word and then you change the subject, okay? And if people are mad, then they're probably going to be, but what do we say about boundaries? The people who are going to be the maddest are the ones who benefit from you having none. So Aunt Helen's being nosy because Aunt Helen felt pressure to get married when she was 20 and cannot understand how maybe you don't feel that pressure. Or if you do, you're not leaning into that. You're hearing it and you're like, no, thank you. I heard you, but I'm choosing not to accept that message today. Goodbye. That triggers her. She doesn't like that. Because when people can't find out information about you, it has more to do with them than it does with you, right? It has more to do with their sense of entitlement, their need to be validated from their choices than it does about you. So again, back to the weirdness, because it's like, this seems like, well, like maybe this isn't so much about weirdness, but weirdness is like an embodiment of your emotional spirit, right? Billie's aesthetic, Billie's music, Billie's videos, that is who she is, and that is authentic to her. And authenticity is not ever something you should apologize for. But what if weirdness isn't always authenticity, right? Because I get a lot of messages from you guys. It's like, I'm not popular, people think I'm weird, but I don't care what they think. I was like, well, you do care what they think because you're paying to ask me a question about it. So you do care, and that's fine, you can care. Social inclusion is one of our most basic needs as humans. We're pack animals and we're tribes people. And if you're by yourself, you die. If you don't have a tribe, you don't survive. So we need to be included. And social rejection is very, very jarring. It is very like deeply caveman mind and heart horrifying to us. And it should be, you know? So here's how to know if you're weird and authentic or not. Do you want people to embrace your weirdness? I used to be super emo. I mean, I told you guys before, I've got some emo songs written about me. I was like the Empress of emo in the New York City scene, which is a pretty darn big scene. And like, I was hanging out with like my preppy friends, and like every time they would try to include me in something, they'd be like, I can't, I'm emo. I didn't want to be understood. I wanted to be weird. I needed to be weird and different. Why? Because I was entrenched in victim mentality. I wanted to feel special by my pain. I was very into My Chemical Romance. I was kind of a cutter. It was a bad time. But like, I didn't want to be better. I didn't want people to join me there. I needed to be unique in my weirdness because that was the only thing that made me special. Or so I thought. Had I stepped back and been like, you're special for a variety of reasons, Shallon. Like, and you don't have to be special in a bad way. You can be special in a very healthy and positive way. But I didn't know that. That seemed scary. It seemed like too much work. So I'd rather be entrenched in this I'm isolated in my weirdness. Nobody's going to understand me. So if this is like pinging around, you know, if you don't have other friends who are entrenched in your weirdness, if you don't have any of that, it could be indicative of a victim mentality. Here's another way to embrace your weirdness. Monetize it. And I don't mean like actually monetize it, because I think that there's a movement with like our generation and Gen Z where it's like, we have to monetize all of our hobbies. Oh, you make denim jackets and spray paint cool phrases? You have to open an Etsy store and you have to have business cards and blah, 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 blah. Like, there's so few of us are doing things just because we enjoy them. And I know that this is true because I consult you guys over your Instagram, like the service I offer. And when I always say like, your social media is a commercial for your life and your brand as a person. Is it sending the right message about your product as in you? But I mean that more of like as a metaphor. Like, you are not literally a brand or product. Most of you guys aren't. Like, I am, because I have monetized my life and I've monetized my social media. So in a more specific sense, yes, I am. But if you're like in college, like, you don't have to think of yourself like that. You can do things because you enjoy them. And not everything has to add up to like the brand, Kelsey, the brand. Like, it's just Kelsey, the junior, Kelsey, the Gamify. It's fine. But a good way to embrace the weirdness is to try to monetize something. And by monetize, I mean not even a dollar value, but get something out of it that's contributing positively to other aspects of your life, right? So if you're into cosplay, like learn to sew, take some sewing classes, offer to make costumes for other people and sell them at Comic-Cons. Like that's a way you can lean into your weirdness and make it work for you so that you feel like less isolated in your weirdness and more like this is an authentic part of who you are, because look at all these other areas of your life that it's touching, right? But again, like we said at the beginning, I understand that it's not always cool to just like lean into the weird. Here I am cosplaying at the Thanksgiving table. Like it's not acceptable, and there's no point in doing something if it's not going to make you happy. And sometimes the social backlash you get just makes it kind of not worth it. And that is the unfortunate, brutal truth at times. But that can change. I left my conservative hometown in Newport Beach, California, the most beautiful place on planet Earth, because I needed to embrace that weirdness. I needed to go to New York and let all the different sides of my personality unfurl. I can be goth one day, preppy the next, glam, artsy hipster. I can be all of these people in 1 week. New York allows for that. Maybe your environment doesn't, So make a plan. Make a plan to get the fuck out of there. You're not a tree. You don't have to stay where you're planted. Get up and get out. Use this weirdness to propel you to a new level, right? That's what Billie Eilish did. She didn't feel super included in her life, in her school, in her peers, in her dance peers. So she went deeper into the weirdness and created a world for herself and created opportunities for herself that was going to get her to a place where she was going to be appreciated for this. So work backwards. Be like, I'm into cosplay. I really like fashion. I should live in New York and work in fashion. I should work in like fashion design or merchandising. Okay, so I want to go to school for that. I need to go to Parsons. Okay, so what do they need on their application? What kind of extracurriculars do they want to see? Okay, that's what I'm going to sign up for next semester. You got to work backwards with your goals, because we look at successful weird people and we think it happened by accident, right? Oh, I don't know, they just stumbled into it. The fuck they did. No. Some people like work harder than others, but if you don't at some point in your weirdness career have intentionality, it just doesn't last that long. Yeah, maybe Billie kind of like stumbled into she put her song on SoundCloud and then it blew up overnight. But at some point she's like, I'm not stumbling around anymore. I'm being very, very intentional and I'm thinking a lot about this. And now my whole life is orienting to these goals. And you have to do the same thing, right? I did that. Writing was weird. Oh, you want to be a writer? You write for the paper, you write the sex column. And at some point I'm like, this is no longer a hobby. I'm no longer fucking around. Same with this YouTube channel. Oh, you want to be a YouTuber? Ooh, weird. You want to quit your corporate editor job in New York City and you want to be a YouTuber. It's like running off to join the circus. Here I am, bitch. Ringmaster. But that's the thing. You have to buck the trend of what people say, and you have to know that this is the path for you. And you know that by working on it. You know that by taking those sewing classes. Wow, I can sew, I can design, I can cut patterns. Okay, this isn't just some stupid hobby I do in my basement. I'm building something larger, right? But like I said, it's not always cool to lean into your weirdness in whatever environment you're in. So schedule it. Schedule it like you would schedule everything else. Have weird Wednesdays. Wednesday, I'm going to come home from school. I'm going to get my cosplay outfit. I'm going to go down to the basement and I'm going to be weird as fuck for 4 hours. Then I'm going to put my clothes back on and come upstairs to dinner. Get your yayas out. Go away for the weekend on like a tour of your weirdness, whatever it is. If you're into Elvis, save your money, fly your ass to Graceland and just like revel in the weirdness. Have an environment and an outlet for that weirdness that you feel like you're tapping into it. Because if you feel like you're tapping into that authenticity, that's going to awaken authenticity and passion in the rest of your life. And I tell you guys this when we talk privately. Interesting people have interests, right? They have something to talk about. They have something that other people can connect to. Like you see people and they look really one-dimensional. Like the number one note I give you guys in your social media is stop posting pictures only of yourself. Stop doing it. Because I look at your page, all I see is you. I think, well, all you care about is you. You. Me. So how is someone going to connect to that? Talk to you about what? Yourself? No. So you got to like have these sort of like outlets that people can plug into, outlets of passion, hobbies, interests, and creativity. And you can't do that if you're always sort of like shying away from whatever aspect of your personality. Oh, it's stupid, it's weird. That's fine. Weird people finish first. Because weird people are specialists. You know? Like, oh, I'm really into this telescope. Now you're an astronomer. Now you're publishing papers in the Harvard Journal. Like, now you have your own weird science show. Like, you're an expert. Celebrities and successful people are experts. We might not notice that. We might not see them as such, but they are. And they have leaned into something that at some point or another was not what the rest of the pack was doing, right? You always hear about rock stars like, I was a geek growing up, I was a band dork. Like the dudes in Motley Crue, Tommy Lee, he was in marching band. That's how he knew to play the drums. He was not a popular kid. Vince Neil, like he was staying home playing the guitar because he was like uncool. That's what the uncool people did. They stayed home and learned to play an instrument. No one was inviting them anywhere. And they learned to play these things because they wanted to get laid, because they wanted to be popular. You know? Same with actors. Like, do you think it's the jocks that join theater? No, it's the dorks. That's why it's all short people. Right? That's why every actor is short. So at some point or another, every person you admire leaned into their weirdness. And how does this add up to Thanksgiving? Because now you know that the things people are like, looking at you sideways for, they're just seeing a tiny piece of the puzzle. You are executing a grand plan, either to monetize this and turn this into a career and a lifestyle that you really love, or simply it's part of the larger puzzle of awakening your passion, awakening your inner purpose and your true self, and leveling up on all levels of your life to draw in the right people and to turn yourself into a warm-blooded alpha. I want to know what you guys have to say about Billie. One of you guys keeps requesting a video about her and Phineas and their weird relationship. I don't have siblings, so I don't think their relationship is that weird. They're both like homeschooled, right? So kind of weird in general. So if you want to see something about those two, let me know, but I don't really know what to talk about. But yeah, tell me what you think about Billie in general. Tell me some of your other favorite weird celebrities. Speaking of weird, what are my bangs doing? And like I said, follow me on Instagram at ShallonXO and head over to my website, shallonlester.com, to take some quizzes, shop some merch, and get help with me one-on-one.